Hi, this is Mike making my video to add to my collection. Today is 5/19/2025 and it's 5:16 a.m. Yeah, I just thought this is a necessary thing for me to state this. I met God. He's wearing a white robe and had long white hair and a long white beard, blue eyes, and he was about 7 foot tall. And he was about 500 pounds, and his head was massive. So anyway, I just so happened to meet him. I've been wanting to meet him since I was 5 years old, and I got to meet him finally. And his name is George. In reality, he's a farmer. He owns a great big giant farm. And anyway, he's in northern Wisconsin. I don't know if he's still alive, but he'll live forever. I know that. And he's going to reign forever. But I finally got to meet him in the flesh. And that was the most incredible thing that's ever happened to me. Um, but I only got to stay with him for an hour. That's what I wished for. To have supper with him for 1 hour, and that's exactly what happened. We had pizza and Washington apples, and he gave me a piece of pizza, and I gave him a can of pop. But anyway, I had this other girl that was there. Her name is Allison, Denise Alexander, and she's a girl that I had a crush on since for many years, and I got to meet her, and she was beautiful, and she was coming on to me hardcore. But anyway, God looked a lot like me, and he had his hair was white, but I mean that means he had blonde hair, most likely. And so anyway, I got to talk to him. He was a pretty simple guy, very kind-hearted man, and I met many people along the way. Celebrities, movie stars, mental cases, regular people, rich people, poor people, young people, old people, women and men, and I've been involved with a lot of things. And I was able to perform miracles, and I attribute that to being God's son. There's a thing called the true vine and the false vine, and the false vine gets uprooted and isn't close to God. And I live by the Gospel of Thomas, and I'm Greek. I guess that's the best way to look at it, Greek buck. I got some Middle Eastern in me, so I got a slightly darker hair. But when I was younger, I had blonde hair, real yellow hair, and I've changed. But I listen to spiritual things, and I think I'm turning over a new leaf. I think I'm going to dedicate my life to God again. I kind of fell off path a little bit, but I believe it's true that I need to kind of stay that way, stay centered. So anyway, I kind of like my size. I'm about 6'1", about 240 pounds. I used to lift weights and whatnot, but anyway, I kind of like my build. I do have some flaws. I got tattoos, and of course, I got some stretch marks, and my vision and hearing are not the greatest. And the missing teeth, but I got a partial that looks real nice. So anyway, yeah, I know the reason why my life has been so nice, for the most part, is because I'm God's son. Jesus is God's son, but actually in reality he's Gabriel's son. Uh, so anyhow, I'm God's son. I know that, and I know I'm a direct descendant of his. And anyhow, I got a lot of power, and I've done a lot of powerful things, and of course, I've done a lot of destructive things as well. But anyway, yeah, I do want to say this, that I've always wanted to have Satan destroyed, and I've seen him twice. And first time he was in the center and he was jamming out, and there was a bunch of women around him, most likely virgins, and one of them actually flew away. She jumped and she flew, but they were a bunch of foolish virgins. There's probably 12 of them, and I think they were all white, beautiful girls. And anyway, yeah. So Satan was getting through to me, or I was getting through to him, vice versa, and I seen him on a broadcast that was private for me, And anyway, at another point in time when I was with God, I saw people being tortured, where they were taking knives and carving into their hands and stuff like that, little kids. And anyway, yeah, I'm friends with Elon Musk and stuff like that. I'm a pretty simple guy, but I think George is the most incredible man I've ever met, and I mean that wholeheartedly. You know, but he's a good man. He's apathetic. Because he was going through some shit. But I got to meet him. I poked some fun at him and stuff like that. I think I made him cry, but I didn't mean to. But I was using the Gestalt method. And I was trying to piss him off to see if I could get him onto that sadness he was in. So he's got the same characteristics as me and even the same disability as me, I think. They got him on the same type of medications, and he sees the same doctor as me. So anyway, I went to his house once and he wasn't there. And like I said, it's like that movie. Anyway, that TV show where they have angels and whatnot, and they're all people that are just basically human. But anyway, I got to meet God and all that, and then I know I got my powers from Him. I inherited them. And they say that only a very small percentage of the population has spiritual abilities, and I know I have mine. I've developed them, and like I say, I can move mountains. And anyhow, that's really how that works. I've gotten almost everything I've ever wanted in life, and I know it's because I'm related to God, and I'm God's son, and I was chosen. Uh, this has gone on since I was a little kid, but it runs in bloodlines, and I'm a Hyperborean, and anyway, the master race, and I take after God. He looks a lot like me, but he's a lot bigger. And of course, I see my alternate ego myself when I was younger, about 13, and the whole roof opened up, and I saw myself, and I was like 30 feet tall and bulletproof, or 40 feet tall and bulletproof. So anyway, long story short, I am a giant, but on another side of me. And then on the other aspect of myself, I was a little man, about 3 feet tall. I seen that. I just trip over this stuff. But anyway, uh, yeah, I saw the interview with Lucifer. And he's a nasty looking motherfucker. But anyway, I seen that. It's available on YouTube. And, I guess, and I heard the interview was pretty repugnant. But, so anyway, about this whole Satan deal, he appeared to me and he had a revolver in his hand. And I watched him shoot himself. And I thought he was going to shoot me. The gun went off. It was incredibly loud, the loudest explosion I ever heard. And anyway, he shot himself. So I think I accomplished my goal. So I think Satan's out of the picture, but then again, I know Lucifer's up to bat now, and he's the next one we got to take out. So anyhow, um, yeah, Satan, Lucifer, God's the greatest in my book, and he's a direct descendant of me. I don't have any problems with him. And I'm just saying this because I want to get this off my chest. And I've lived a pretty good life so far. I'm 55. I'm looking all right. I need a little Botox, and I gotta go to, and I will go to the gym. So anyhow, that's what I have to say. Um, yeah, usually anything that I truly want, I usually get at a discount, or I find, and people are good to me. And I do have power, and I do reign. My stomping grounds aren't as big as God's necessarily, but in many ways, I'm the least of thee in his book, in many ways. but he's greater than me, and I'm greater than myself. I see myself as a very large man. I saw myself as a very large man. So I've seen dragons, gargoyles, Lucifer, Bigfoot, Satan, Goliath. Goliath was huge. He was massive. He was about 10 foot tall, and he was a Philistine, a Native American. And so anyway, met Elon Musk, Katy Perry, Paul Walker, and at a time when I seen what's his name, Theodore Roosevelt. I seen him in person. He appeared to me. Abraham Lincoln. I met him. I shook his hand, talked to him. I shook God's hand, talked to him, and uh, I think that pretty much sums it up. Uh, Brittany Murphy. I think I actually met her. She dyed her hair and she's a little different. You know, she tried to hide out. I seen her cousin and she looks a spitting image of her, so I don't know. And of course, Brittany Murphy was one of my favorites. She still is. Katy Perry is one of my favorites, and she still is. And like I said, you know, I read a lot of interesting books. Neil Donald Walsh, Conversations with God, and of course, A Course in Miracles. I've read that. That's a very good book. I'm into New Age spirituality and stuff like that. I met the Apostle Paul, and he was wearing a white robe and green olive leaves around his head. And I got to get these tattoos off of me, and then I plan on being in heaven somehow. I don't want to go to hell. Not interested. So I'm doing pretty good. And yeah, one thing that really abhors me is people that are incredibly wealthy, they're incredibly greedy, and you know, people that aren't willing to give up things to get things. Uh, you give up physical wealth to get spiritual wealth. You know what I mean? Two different estates. You give up one estate, the old wine, to acquire new wine and a new estate. It's kind of like you give up an old way of being to be a new type of person. Instead of being a warmonger, a whoremonger, uh, a man of the earth, you know, a legal expert, Pharisee, this and that. You give all that stuff up, and then you give up your possessions, you give up your life. Yeah, not so much give up your life, but risk your life. I've almost died many times, and I've been through a lot. And like I say, you know, I've had millions, $50 million at one point, and I've met all kinds of interesting people. But the most interesting person I've met was God, and I see a lot of myself in Him. So I know I'm His son. He didn't call me His son, but I know I am, and you know, that's really how it works. So anyway, I've seen aliens also, and I see motherships. Darth Vader appeared to me, and I've seen the Star Wars Imperial mothership. That shit's for real. It's reverse engineered, and you know, I guess I don't know what to say about everything, but I saw a dragon too, baby one, and I'm an animal lover, and I just like interesting things. But there will be a point in time I might have to shed all my wealth to go to the next level. He who travels light travels far. So I'm not really into Buddhism. I'm into Greek stuff. I'm into Apostle Paul. He looked a lot like me as well. He had white hair and blue eyes, and he looked a lot like God too. But you know, he wasn't huge. But you know, he and I share a lot of characteristics. But definitely, God's the most powerful man I ever met. He was very kind-hearted, though. So anyway, that's all I really have to say for now. Over and out.